Welcome to another Mage tutorial. In this video, we're going to explore an exciting feature called FreeU that can help you take your AI-generated images to the next level. Before you ask, FreeU stands for free lunch. Not that sort of lunch, though that does look delicious. In this case, free lunch refers to a situation where there is no cost incurred by the individual receiving the goods or services being provided. It was developed as a way to improve the sample quality of models that use the diffusion process, such as Stable Diffusion, at no cost. There is no training involved, like there is with fine-tuned models or LoRa's. No additional parameters are required, and there is no increase in memory or sampling time. You can think of FreeU as a toolbox that lets you fine-tune your images by adjusting 4 key parameters of the UNet neural network that the diffusion models use. As a side note, the UNet neural network is called that because when diagrammed on paper, the structure looks like the letter U. Those parameters are labeled B1, B2, S1, and S2. Because I know you're dying to understand why we picked B and S for these, I'll explain, but try not to be too technical. B1 and B2 refer to the backbone parameters. In the context of the FreeU method, the backbone refers to the main structure or pathway of the UNet architecture used in Stable Diffusion. B1 and B2 specifically control the amplification of features in the first and second stage blocks of the decoder. Adjusting these parameters affects the overall structure, coherence, and detail of the generated image. The letter B is used to denote that these parameters are related to the backbone of the network. S1 and S2 refer to the skip connection parameters. Skip connections are additional pathways in the UNet architecture that allow information to bypass certain layers and directly connect non-adjacent layers. In FreeU, S1 and S2 control the influence of the skip connections in the first and second stage blocks of the decoder. Adjusting these parameters affects the balance between the overall structure and the finer details in the generated image. The letter S is used to denote that these parameters are related to the skip connections. For the following image examples, we are going to use the seed 987435307. We are going to use SDXL for the model. We are going to use as short and minimal a prompt as possible. We aren't going to use any of the other special settings such as LoRa's or prompt filters, and we are going to set all of the FreeU options to 1 which will disable them except the one we are displaying. What we are going to try to do is show you nice, clear, standalone examples of how each of the options can affect the final image. It should go without saying that the FreeU parameters are not intended to be used alone. They work together and along with the rest of the settings. There are also no best settings. The FreeU parameters are very much like the tiny brushes that a painter has, or the fine chisels a sculptor might use, and are provided to allow you to tweak the look of your image. You will need to experiment with them for each image you create to see if they can do anything for it or not. Always use a seed when doing this, so that the tweaked images are only being changed by the FreeU settings. One other important thing to note. Because B2 influences the second stage blocks, its effect can be overpowering. It is suggested to start with it set to 1.1 and only change that 1 decimal place at a time if you truly need to. Let's dive into what each parameter does. B1 controls the overall structure and definition of your image. Higher values will make the shapes and lines more pronounced and clearer. On Mage, you can choose a value between 1 and 1.5, with 1.3 being the default. B2 works in tandem with B1 to enhance the finer details in your image. It can help bring out intricate patterns and textures. You can select a value between 1 and 1.6, with 1.4 being the default. S1 adjusts the smoothness of the smaller details in your image. Lower values will make these details softer and less pronounced. You can choose a value between 0 and 1, with 0.9 being the default. Watch what happens to the end of the branch, the bark, the leaves, the string holding the apple, as well as the coloring, as we step down from 0.9 to 0.0. S2 is similar to S1, but affects even smaller details. It can help create a more blended and cohesive look. You can select a value between 0 and 1, with 0.2 being the default. Again, watch the fine details change as we step through the numbers from 0.0 to 0.9. Watch the background, the holes in the leaves, the tiny details that can make or break an image. Here are a few more image sets. The first is with FreeU disabled. The second is with the default settings for FreeU enabled. And the third is with the FreeU settings tweaked for best result. As you can tell, for some images, the default settings actually give the best result. And for some, the default settings are way too much and have to be adjusted. I hope this tutorial has been useful to you. Not so technical that we put you to sleep, yet technical enough that you clearly understand what FreeU can do for your images. Now it's your turn to play around with the settings and take your images to the next level. Thanks for watching and happy creating.